Welcome back to the dimecomicbros podcast.
I don't want to open with that. For once, I'm telling you no.
Why buy a comic that might cost more than a dime? Come meet the brothers who are here to waste your time.
So you guys went a little ballistic last week, and I found it quite funny. I listened to the entire raw recording, and it was very funny. And you only had to cut out like 7 minutes worth of stuff, too.
Yeah.
I felt like that was pretty mild. Was that ballistic?
We were edgier.
It was less...
Because I remember like our old ones where we're not doing anything except for BuzzFeed quiz. Let's go.
It was less chaotic and
it was
edgy.
it was just you guys made a lot of very racy jokes. And they were mostly funny, for once. Congrats, you're funny.
Thank you. We know this.
Yeah.
That's why we have the podcast.
This is
You're
true.
just here for management.
Obviously. So this week we are talking about the third collected edition of Lopper, which is Lopper and the Knights of Venora. The trade was put out in 2019, and the issues came out in 2018 and 2019. It's issues 9 through 12, plus the epilogue.
Can I interject really quick?
Oh, yeah?
So you started with something funny that you said I can't use, and then we didn't introduce ourselves in what we do, and...
Sometimes I'm just stupid,
anything.
okay?
I think it's
Jacob
okay.
is the sassy
I am
is talking
Jacob.
smack, because he doesn't like anything that I do, ever.
Spencer is the one trying to run a show here, and
Hey, I have to edit
Colin-
this week,
I
so...
like the pretty colors in the book.
And then, yeah, Colin's just here because pretty colors go burr and dick jokes make him laugh because he's a
I don't think you can say that anymore.
Yeah, I can.
There's no racial connotation on that.
I'm
Jason.
white.
With ape?
I'm white.
You're the white ape. The great white ape.
Did you ever end up talking about War for the Planet of the Apes?
War. Let's see.
I don't think you did.
That's the third one.
No, I haven't yet.
You're an idiot. Anyways,
I'll talk about it soon.
I'm sure you will. So this trade really stepped it up a notch. I know that you had said this before, that this is kind of where it gets like really good, but you were correct.
Of course I'm correct.
Shut up. Shut up, you opinionated bitch.
Fuck you. I know my books.
I appreciate the fact that it's actually heading towards a trajectory. Not just that it explains more things from the backstory, which is always nice, but that it has more of a framing device, and we're getting a trajectory for the next few books.
So what he's talking about is it explains why Lopper is carrying the witch's head.
He said just call him Nordle. Calm down, Jacob. He doesn't like being called Headlopper.
I said Lopper.
Headlopper.
It's a running joke, okay?
You're a running joke.
I know.
But you don't run,
Gosh,
so
calm
you
down
are only
before
a
I eat
joke.
your asses.
Me
Sir.
first. Me first.
Sir.
I call dibs.
Oh, gosh. So, just general, like, storyline for this book is a lot stronger. It actually has, you know, a more direct, you know, act setup and proper payoff. And the epilogue actually, you know, sets up the next book, which the previous book did as well. But, like, this book starts off in a very different place than the last book ended, which I appreciated. It goes to the depth of being an old, grouchy, drunken man and stuff, which is fun.
I would like to qualify that I need to read it again. But I found the inclusion of a political and religious system both good and bad. It's good in that it adds storytelling and it adds depth to the city that he's visiting and what's going on inside of it and sort of the villain. But I found it very confusing. I just saw people dressed up and being all, we
I
are
like
the
that.
bad guys now.
I like that. To be
So it's
honest.
like-
it fits kind of with the tone, and it's the same. It's not the same system as it was in the first book because I was in a different location, but it gives off similar vibes.
So near the end of the book, though, they
do it.
separated. They're called the Cleric of the Snake and the Knights Templar of the freaking Egg or whatever. And I was like, whoa, that would have been so helpful keeping them organized in my brain as to who's who and what their motives are.
That is
So-
fair. The one thing that does get a little annoying with the really cool names is sometimes they tend to blend together just because everything is new. All of the names are funny, and some of them are derivative of other names, like
Right.
from the story. So it's a little.
It was. Just
I forget. I just
confusing.
remember
to
who
have-
they are and what they're doing.
Right.
Not necessary.
I wanted a face to have a motive behind it.
I think what would help this book a lot more with people and names is if he had like his own little index in the back of the book.
That'd be hot.
It could be like just
'Cause he
faces
ditched
drawn.
doing the map.
It could have like faces drawn, that pissed me off. That's one thing I didn't like, is that he ditched the map.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, having like a little
little
appendix in the backs would be
like just little faces, but it could be like the simplistic versions of the faces,
that'd be
and
cool.
then like, this is his name, Head Lopper. He's got a giant cock, and blah blah blah, like that.
Appendices make me hot.
True. And it would be funnier because then it would just be all of Agatha on the page. I'm funny. I really liked getting the backstory to what the hell happened with, why he's carrying around a stupid fucking head. And
But you didn't get all of it.
No, we got why he has it, but we don't get why it's that important. Kinda. We're getting there. And I really appreciate that. It's still elaborating on more backstory, and it's linking up with other characters, some introduced in this book, some introduced in previous books, and showing more how they're connected to each other without overdoing it and just like, here's the whole plan. I also think that the art got stepped up a notch in terms of action, because one thing that with the other books I liked that sometimes he decided to number the panels or number the positions within a panel that has like multiple movements in it, which I like. I don't like the fact that he felt the need to do that because it wasn't clear enough. I like that this book in terms of action is a lot clearer.
I think he should have done it like 3 times, and then that should have been it, because it carries the same format through the whole book. So if he explained it to you a couple of times, then you should know from then on to follow the same
that's
panels.
fair.
I think it's fine that way. I like it that way because it just
I agree.
it's just nice. Not because I'm stupid. I mean, I am.
Yeah, you are.
But I like it that way because it's like, just like the other books.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Also
But
the color palette.
I think, you should shut up.
No!
And let me talk. You just are hogging the mic today.
You're literally the one who's still flipping through the book.
I
Yeah, because I was about to talk about the fucking art. The art, guys. We're going to talk about the art.
I love
Wow.
how any of us can say the art and immediately get the stink eye from Colin. Like, that's my topic.
It's
I
literally my thing.
That's why I'm on the
I'm
side.
the weatherman. It's my weather.
Yeah, we're not.
Sorry, big booba. Out of the way. Real weather coming in.
We're not allowed to have opinions on art.
No, not until I address it first.
And then he can say if
So,
we're right or wrong.
Whoever is doing this recording, fixing this recording later, you have to cut out everything Spencer said out of spite, even if it is Spencer that's doing it. You have to do it out of spite and then add this in.
Uh-huh.
Like that's ever gonna happen.
So he really stepped it up with the art this time.
I hate you.
But no, yeah, the art is, it's actually, I feel like it's finally solidified, and it's like, actually, like, he knows what he wants now. He finally knows what he wants for the art, because the first book is wildly different
It is.
from the second and the third, but the second is like definitely the transition book, which is why those 2 books, as much as I loved reading them, after getting to the 3rd and 4th book, I'm like, I love these ones way more.
His art is an adult now. The first
Yeah.
book with Little Baby, it was weird and it was inconsistent, and then it went through its adolescence, and it got darker and more inky. And
Yup.
ooh,
But also, like,
now it's
he got more
normal and
rounder. He
more
does,
rounder.
Yeah, so usually there's...
This is why Colin is not a writer. He is an artist.
Shut the f*** up. It got rounder. It's not straights playing off of curves. It's not straight to curves like Spencer here. It's not straight to curves like how Disney does it or how BTAS does it. Like, that's the rule, is straight to curves. That's how you get this art style. This one is, it's curves for days, baby. And the straight lines are usually the shadows, which is, this book entirely inspired what my art style is right now. I know there's like Mike Mignola, of course, and then there's Sean Murphy, but I don't take much inspiration from Sean as much as I do Andrew MacLean, because of how he shades, and then the amount of black shading he does. It's not too much where it's like engulfs the entire page, but he still plays off of negative space, which is a good thing to do in anyways.
I like playing off of your negative space.
I like playing with your negative space.
I would like to say, I definitely noticed in this book that the word bubbles are very generous, very liberal. They leave a lot of space around all the words, and quite often he'll have the top quarter of a panel as just a square white block
I would
with
like that.
even one word in it. It's
I love
okay. It leaves the same amount of white space around the word so that it looks even across all the bubbles, but it seems like a sneaky way of hiding a lot of beautiful artwork, and I don't like that.
See, I
Well-
think because he was the one who did both, I don't think it's really a problem.
I like this a lot in the way that it's handled because it doesn't feel congested. It doesn't feel like everything's mushed together. Like, you look at these panels, and then you look
The second
at the
book
words,
definitely felt
Yeah, it felt
congested. It was a
mushed.
lot of smushy.
and this feels like there is breathing room. There is space for characters. You can feel that they can move around.
There's more pacing. It's not more pacing. The pacing is more generous. Even though
Yeah,
there's less
that
issues
too.
in it than the previous book, and it is shorter, it's paced a lot better. Gay.
Lesbians. Me too. Oh, this book is just so fucking good. And also just the cover of this book. I love that he does this on the back of every book. He has like all the characters lined up together and they're all proportionate and like this is what they all look to scale to each other. And it's like,
Also,
so
I
good.
believe there's a double page spread of that in the back as well.
Yes.
And he's done that for all of them.
Oh
I
yeah,
very
it's
much so like
so
I have
fucking
two
good.
things.
And then there's that little comic in the back.
They're gonna set one of the two of you off
Oh, boy.
each. So I'll go with Spencer first because it's been a while for him.
that.
They go to a town where they worship this egg, and head Lopper, Norgal,
Thank you.
Norgal eventually goes to the egg and says a magic word, and it starts to break, and it ends up that the inside of the egg is dead, and they've been worshiping a dead egg for no reason. And I'm sure Spencer has talking points about the fallacy of religious tomfoolery worshiping dead stuff and things.
I mean, I wasn't even going to
They
go there,
made
but I
it
could
political and wow.
Oh, wow. Political leaders interwoven with
Religious-
theocracies.
yeah,
What? This
yeah.
book couldn't be political if it tried. I mean, I don't even think about that at this point. When it comes to stuff like this, where it's done very, very loosely and not really analogously, it's like, I don't, like, I like it, but I'm not going to go off on, like, well, in theory, it could be like, I'm much
This
more
is
here
an
for...
analogy on how the Roman Catholic
it's like-
the Orange Catholic Bible.
Yeah, exactly. Like it focuses a lot more on the non-specifics of those sorts of organizations and more so of like, ooh, look, this secret society, and then these religious leaders are in a cult and they're gonna do a coup, more so than like the actual implications, which I am fine with. It fits more in this world.
Okay, well that was not exciting.
Well, why the freak is it called an Orange Bible in Dune? I'm just thinking
Orange
about
Catholic?
Yeah, Orange Catholic Bible. Why is it orange? Is it simply just because like
It's a funny word. I don't know.
Probably is.
I don't like sand.
So the one to set Colin off, the
Oh boy!
colors are very, very, very specific. So the flashback when the witch orgy happens, you have the green yellow for the explosion magic seance summoning thing until you have blue when Norgal touches the stone. You have sepia and like a dark blue, I guess, for like daytime, nighttime in the city. And then you also have like a lot of red for the villain that's being hinted at in the next movie, but also that one panel with a flashback from, sorry, not movie, book. You also have red in that one panel in the flashback from the last book, which was the Crimson Tower. So, wow, intentional coloring.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very up on the coloring for this, which
I
was done
love-
by
he used-
Georgie Belair?
Georgie Belair, yep.
Yeah, the coloring on this is on fucking point. But to be fair, to your point, not to just totally justify you being a dipshit, these books actually do feel a lot like movies. The first book,
do!
and part of the second book felt a lot like Hellboy short stories type stuff.
Yep.
Or even just OG Hellboy before there was a plot, which I'm totally fine with. I love that. But especially this one, and I think Crimson Tower to an extent, could work pretty well as like movies. Not
I was already
necessarily
thinking about
I think-
animating it into like an animated movie.
yeah,
I would love that
It'd be
so much.
easy.
I don't think it would be obviously as good. I think it works best in the comic medium, but like in
Right.
terms of pacing and structure, it is pretty solidly like a good screenplay. I think that's pretty fucking cool.
I think every colorist should release a palette.
Oh my gosh, you said this for the past like month now.
Yeah, I think it again.
I think this is easily the best out of the three.
Yeah.
I think Crimson Tower was the most like fun. It had a lot of like energy to it, and it was silly and goofy, and the fun little people were funny, and they had faces. And Colin's making that face right now.
Can I?
That's just Colin's face.
My turn. Just so that I can make the face worse, I like the first one the best because
Really?
it was the simplest and most easygoing. It's just like I don't like having the plot. I like the artwork. It's simple. It's simple and
boy.
fun.
Oh no.
These two, the Crimson Tower and this one are good too. I like having a plot, but it's just I like the simplicity of the first one.
Jacob is simple. You heard it here first,
Yes.
folks. Colin is trying not to have an aneurysm.
What is wrong with you? Oh my god.
That's what you say to anyone's opinion on anything, though.
Well, yeah, because most people are wrong, dude.
All right. So I'm very much so looking forward to reading the next book.
Me too.
So
I'm very excited. So
Moving
this
forward-
week, I've read.
Wow. All three of us reached for what we talked about.
Colin, I want
Rock,
you
paper,
to
scissors.
Rock, paper, scissors, peeing. I win.
Colin. What have you been doing?
I read the first volume of Jessica Jones' Alias, and
You read the whole thing?
first volume of the omnibus. I finished the first volume.
So how many issues is that?
I think that's 6.
Okay.
Something like that. But
Cool.
Colin is
So-
reading something dark, spooky, and
Edgy.
yeah.
what a
edgy.
surprise.
Wow.
So, just this story takes place where Jessica Jones is no longer her superhero alias known as Jewel, and she is now a private eye in New York City, and she keeps getting herself into shenanigans in this volume where she is being set up for a murder and somehow involved with Steve Rogers, Captain America.
Ooh,
And-
Steve.
He's not in it much, but the story it's basically just a company is trying to get her to screw over Steve with a tape that she accidentally made. And it ends up being, oh, Jessica Jones. Like, someone calls her on the phone. It's like, hey, we know you're near that guy. Get away from that guy that's setting you up. We're going to go kill him. And it's basically just happens like that. Is S.H.I.E.L.D. just like,
Wow, Shield just doing an extrajudicial.
Yep.
Extrajudicial. There we go. Murder. That's very nice.
And throughout the comic, there was like this commentary on politics about presidents and stuff like that. And I was reading this, I'm like, Spencer. I mean, I was like, Jacob. Why was Jacob reading this? He hates politics. All I could think in this was,
Which is, to be
why are
fair,
the politics in my comic books?
to be fair, he didn't mention that whatsoever.
I
When he
know.
talked about it,
I
which is the
know.
impressive
That's why
part.
I was surprised. I'm like, what?
I'm so proud of you.
But it was just the first volume was kind of simple, and at first I was not interested. But like,
He said simple.
I wanted to see how Jessica Jones was feeling and like how she was doing during the comic book, because I like Jessica Jones as a character. I
Yeah.
feel bad for her, and like she seems like an actual real person
Yeah.
compared to other superhero comics I read, and also I like seeing her like narration through journaling and stuff like that.
You like fucking detective stories.
I love detective stories.
Wow.
I totally forgot that I love those stories, and I just love seeing the human side of her and doing all that. But also, fucking Luke Cage is written like an asshole, like a complete asshole.
I was waiting for it.
What the fuck? He doesn't. The funny thing is, I looked at this guy and it's like, who is this dude? Is it just like a random dude? And they're like, she's like, oh, Luke Cage, and I'm like, this dude doesn't even look like he looks like a white dude that's colored black.
Ooh,
That's what he looks like.
interesting.
And it doesn't look like Luke Cage, because I'm used to Luke Cage like kind of looking like the same dude, and he's got like a goatee and everything.
That like goatee circle beard thing kind of slaps.
It does, and it works for him. really well.
Yes.
And he doesn't have it in this comic.
Oh,
So it's
facial
weird.
hair sins.
And he's just like hanging around Jessica Jones just to get ass. And then it's like, it's almost like, because she hooks up with him, and this is like the night that she lets him do whatever he wants. But like, you just see her face is like pained and like doesn't look like she's having fun. And during the whole thing, she's monologuing in her head about like, he's gonna feel bad about this later because, you know, he's actually such a nice guy and such a nice guy. And throughout this whole comic, and she talks about like, whenever he's brought up, he's like, oh, he's such a nice guy. But like, whenever I see him, he's just a complete asshole to her. And I know Jacob said that it's explained way better later in the omnibus. But at this point, I kind of don't care if it's explained better, because his actions are like assholey. Even if like she does bring problems into his life, he could just like not be around her if that's really the problem. It doesn't mean he can be an asshole. But I'm liking this series besides Luke Cage being an asshole.
That's good.
Yeah. So, to defend myself politically, the politics in the first 6 issues, basically Jessica Jones's point is that everything political has an asshole behind it, and they're all in it for themselves, and it's so pessimistic that I love it. It's so cynical. So I can't really sin it.
I forgot to mention that was something that I liked, and I was like, so it's not like actual politics, it's just, hey, politics suck, here you go. Exactly. Like, oh, okay, I like that.
Yeah. And yeah, the thing about Luke Cage, it's definitely unclear in the beginning here, but they have a really good conversation much later where he's like, you just use me for things, like whatever, for this thing and that thing and the other thing. And then you disappear for a while and just hate your life, and I'm just like a tool in your life. And yeah, you came over that night and I was living my own life. I had things going on and you just wanted to freaking use me like a crutch again. So
as far as I remember reading in that first volume, she wasn't looking for anything except for help on her investigation.
No, in the opening issue when they're doing the do.
Oh, that part,
she's
yeah.
having a bad night and was like, yeah, just do whatever because I feel miserable. So it's like, she's not treating him like a person. So he's like looking out for himself, sort of, and he didn't want to be used like a tool and was like, no, get out of here. I'm doing something. Like,
that wasn't the same interaction,
just here
though.
No, I get that. But that's the justification for him saying no when she needed him. It was like, you're kind of using him when you need him, and it's not a relationship. It's just...
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the first interaction, first off, he started off, like,
Flirting.
It wasn't even flirting.
He was kind of being creepy.
He was just creepy.
He was creeping.
I'll pull it up real quick.
But she was hammered.
She was hammered.
And
he shouldn't have even interacted if she's hammered.
Oh, have you been enjoying how fucked Comixology has been?
Yeah, I fucking love it.
I'm sure
I
you've been loving
actually
it.
hate Comixology. I want to get rid of it, but like I don't know other places.
Yeah, that's the thing, is it's basically just Comixology, because Amazon has been fucking real bad with it. See, now I'm gonna read this in the next few weeks, because I'm gonna have to swipe
You're
Jacob.
both wrong.
You guys usually are both wrong, so shut the fuck up.
Fuck you, you're wrong. All the time.
Yes?
He didn't have to interact with her in that moment in the bar. He did not have to do anything. He did not have to interact with her.
Pretty sure that
Okay, two selfish,
happens.
complicated human beings who are using each other. Congrats. I
Yep.
solved your fucking problems for you. Shitty people be shitty. Boom. There you go.
I'm pretty sure that's how it happens in the TV show, too.
Yes.
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't defend her in the TV show at all. I'll defend her in the comics, though.
I read BPRD, Plague of Frogs, Volume 2. Sort of written by Mike Mignola, but also John Arcudi and Guy Davis. Art by all kinds of people.
Did you read the first one last week?
Not last week, probably a month ago.
Oh, okay. I haven't even read Plague of Frogs yet.
The episode that you weren't there for, and I was like, I read 2 things that I needed Colin's thoughts on, and he's not here.
Okay, so
That
this
sucks.
is the edition I need to buy, because I wanted it to match
Where'd
the
you get
Hellboy omnibuses.
Where'd you get the first 2?
From Lex Luthor himself.
Oh boy.
Oh, okay. Because I've been wanting to only buy it in like person, so I can't do that.
I don't think Jetpack has had any copies of that. They have they have the smaller books.
They're pretty rare too. Like they go out of print often, is what Jetpack said one time. So,
and I've been wanting to, but I haven't really. It's not. I want to know more about the Hellboy universe, but like I can't really justify it to myself because I feel like I've already read all Hellboy. But
there's literally more non-Hellboy content in that universe than there is Hellboy content.
Yeah, it is weird.
BPRD, not Hellboy.
I know that.
It's fun.
Yeah.
You're not cheating on your Hellboy man.
Or you could start in the middle and do Hellboy and the BPRD, or you could just read the Ape Sapien run, which is really good.
Oh, I have the first trade of that.
Oh! You haven't read it yet, have you?
No.
You should read it.
I know. I've read all my Batman stuff, though. So I'm going to be going
It's
on.
Batman.
I know, but like I haven't read like any of my stuff.
Congrats. Okay, Jacob.
Yes. So, the first book of this trade is The Dead. And it's bringing back the 2 original frogs from the pages of Hellboy. I'm trying to remember the name of the freaking brothers. It's basically the Allan Poe House of... Come on.
Froggy.
House of Usher. Frick. Alright, so it's basically that Hellboy story with the House of Usher, but with frogs in the basement, right? And the 2 brothers. So it brings those 2 brothers back, and they're hanging out with their mom. So the BPRD are sent in to investigate, and it turns into this weird nightmare that Ape Sapien has with his wife, maybe? I don't know, it's really weird. Also, the BPRD moves to a cool Nazi castle, so that's cool.
We love Nazi castles.
We love Nazis in our BPRD stuff.
We love Nazis.
I'm gonna clip you guys out of context so bad.
We love Nazis.
We love
Thank you for giving me ammunition.
We love Nazi assholes.
We love...
Oh, I'm sure you guys
Nazi
love
assholes.
fucking Nazis. Anyways.
Book 2 is The War on Frogs, and I kind of had a problem with this because they are just Starship Troopering frogs everywhere. They're just going, BPRD is going to places all around the world and just blasting frogs. It's like war porn. It's
porn.
Alien war porn.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice cock, bro.
So that's cool. Killing stuff is cool. Oh, there's this weird issue where it's like an X-File where the frogs are healing people magically and making their own religion. And speaking of religion, the frogs worship something. You don't know what immediately. It turns out to be the brother demon of Ogduhem.
The Destroyer Worm.
Yeah. So then...
Sorry, Conqueror Worm.
Book 3 is The Black Flame, where a human... I couldn't really tell gets possessed or is just making a show of it, but he's the Black Flame, and he's leading all the frogs. And they bring in the brother Destroyer Worm, Cockringham, and then the BPRD has to kill the Flame and Cockringham, and he is freaking cool. There's so many double panel, beautiful artwork pieces of the big Destroyer Worm thing.
Nice.
Bringing his army of frogs. I mean, look at that. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Big worm. Colin, that came out of your mom.
A lot of things happen in this book, and it feels like a step up as far as just overall content. It feels like a step up. The artwork is nice. It's a lot more consistent. The stories feel much more intentional. It's a lot less willy-nilly because the first book was like, hey, what if we did a BPRD spinoff? People send in their BPRD fan arts and we'll make a book out of it. This is much more, no, we're doing a thing. Yeah, I'm very glad I made the jump. I didn't listen to Colin Mann and didn't read it because it's not there by me.
I'm becoming less and less of a purist as time goes on.
Good.
I kind of like the artwork in this too.
Oh. Can I answer one of your little questions? Or not questions, but you had a statement about Jessica Jones' alias with the artwork.
What?
This doesn't really have to be on the podcast.
Wait, what question?
You were talking about the artwork where like you couldn't tell if it was meant to be like ugly or if people. So basically, the artist just sucks. He just sucks at drawing faces, and whenever he could, he covered their face in shadow.
That's
like,
what
just
I said.
Completely black.
Or hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's definitely times where Jessica Jones was like, "Oh, she's pretty," and so it definitely is difficult to tell if it's like maybe he's making her look ugly because it's an ugly situation, and maybe he's making her look pretty because she's like innocent talking, or like she's like you see the good side of her, so she looks pretty,
Right.
and like all the ugly parts of her, she looks ugly, you know, and that makes sense. But I actually think the artist is just inconsistent. I think he's just an inconsistent artist, or her. I don't know who it was. I didn't care enough to check. So I think that's what it is.
Very nice.
So after borrowing the book, did you then buy them on Comixology?
No, the first 2 volumes were free. So it's like, I'm going to be at work and I don't want to bring his books to work.
Comixology. Hey, get the first book free and then pay out the ass.
Yep. And I did that with the Batman one.
Don't disrespect Daddy Bezos. He needs a new yacht.
Spencer, what did you do this week?
I did a lot of Moon Knight. So I wanted to get all of this out before we start the show next week because I also just wanted to read as much as I could beforehand. You know, so I'm not totally walking in like a retard, and not
Like
have
usual?
all of the books be tainted by my view of the show. So I wanted to get at least a few runs out of the way. I talked about the Brian Michael Bendis and Alex Maleev run about a month ago.
We've been reading a lot of Brian Michael Bendis lately.
Yeah. So I read the 2014 run, which is 17 issues, which was published from 2014 to 2015. It includes 3 trades, From the Dead, Dead Will Rise, and In the Night. The first collected edition is written by Warren Ellis with pencils by Declan Shalvey. The second is written by Brian Wood with art by Greg Smallwood. And the third is done by Cullen Bunn with Ron Atkins and German Peralta. I borrowed all 3 of these from Colin. These are a must-buy. I'm just going to preface that now. I'm waiting and really hoping that they put all 3 of these in one book because even though they are done by different creative teams, they're still part of one run. So this is the first and third collected edition are anthologies, and I love that formatting. The second one does take there's a little bit of anthology work, but it's mostly a plot which pulls in a little bit from the first book, but it's mostly just an actual story set in, the same world in the same time. The costume for the Moon Knight persona in this run is my favorite. It is excessively simple. It has a black undersuit with white armor pieces.
It is so good.
It's extremely light looking. He looks limber. It looks not necessarily like a Nightwing suit, but it looks like I could see Nightwing wearing something like that. So he's acrobatic, he's fast, he's vicious, but he still has the Moon Knight, they need to see me coming type vibe. Mm-hmm. It also, frankly, just makes for easier panels to draw because it's so simple. It looks like all the artists have it down pat. The Ellis and Bunn runs in particular, so the first and third collected edition, are definitely on the same wavelength. I didn't feel like any of these 3 books were written by different people. They're a little different. And the creative teams are obviously different, but like they don't feel like it. It feels like the anthology stories and the story in the middle are kind of all done in the same attitude with the same like philosophical leanings as well as their same attitudes toward the character, and I really, really appreciate that. I liked the story in the middle, but I do prefer the anthology setting because of the place that Mark Spector is in mentally and emotionally in this time. He has stopped working with people entirely. He has an AI running his limousine and an AI that runs his glider thingy. So he has, because of his experiences in the previous runs, just too many people have been hurt by him and by being near him, so he just works by himself. And he is pretty much completely reliant on Khonshu. And I think that these books, having the focused lean more in the spiritual, not necessarily the spiritual aspect, but more in the religious aspect of Mark Spector is in an mostly undesired and forced relationship with a god he can't understand.
Khonshu is the Egyptian god that gives him power, sort of.
Correct. Kind of, sort of, depends on who you ask. I really appreciate the attitude that they have towards it. Right now, it feels like he is just stuck in this endless cycle of not knowing enough about the situation he's in. Khonshu telling him, "You are my son, and you will do this thing," and then he goes, "Yeah, you're right." And then he does the thing, and the stories kind of end abruptly because he never knows what he's getting into, and he's always kind of he's thrown under the bus by Khonshu a lot. And Khonshu never explains himself. He never really has a point because maybe Khonshu's in his head. Maybe Khonshu is a god or a demigod or whatever. It's still up for interpretation, like every Moon Knight run. But the fact that it really emphasizes how Mark Spector is kind of stuck doing stuff he doesn't want to be doing, and he doesn't have any other options, and because there's no one else around him and his limited resources and whatnot, he has to rely on Khonshu. Khonshu basically keeps taking stuff away from him, so he has to rely on Khonshu in a very unhealthy manner. Adkins, I think, is my favorite artist that worked on this run. He did he was in the third trade, issues 13, 14, and 17. It's a little cartoony. It's a little bit less shadowy than the other artists, which for me sounds weird because I really like shadows. But it has a little bit more detail, a little bit more delicate pencil work, and I really appreciate that. This run was phenomenal. It does lull a little bit in the middle for this longer story, which is about basically Mark Spector's therapist having a relationship with Khonshu and trying to like push Mark Spector out of being Khonshu's avatar, and it's a whole thing. It was a little nonsensical. It was still good. It worked. The themes were there, but it was a bit less exciting.
I think my favorite artists of these are definitely
Shelby is definitely the second next.
Shelby. I like his art is what got me into Moon Knight. That's what got me into Moon Knight. Shelby, Smallwood, and how do you say that name? The second one, Camuncoli, did issue 10.
Yeah, no idea.
Well, the second artist.
I didn't really like
did
that issue.
10. Wait, hold on.
Issue 10.
Because I like all this art. Where is issue?
And then the bigger part, I think, about this run is it introduced an entire new alter for Mark Spector, being Mr. Knight, who is kind of like the PR relations team of this weird cobbled together man.
I love Mr. Knight.
He, on the one hand, he's allowed, quote unquote, he works with the cops, kind of. He is consulted. The cops know he's Moon Knight, but they say, hey, we don't talk about Moon Knight because that's like kind of a serial murderer, like whack job. This is Mr. Knight. We will not acknowledge this any further. He deals with people. The last issue of the Ellis and Shelby part was basically just John Wick / The Raid, where he has to go through a abandoned hotel, just beating the shit out of dozens of people.
Making a guy throw up by punching him in the gut.
Ugh.
So good.
To rescue a little girl. And Mr. Knight is the public face, whether that be because of the people he works with or because he has to deal with like regular people, like this little girl. He leans down and they start talking about his mask, and that was really funny. I always like those little bits of like kids being self-aware enough that like, dude, why the fuck are you wearing a mask? And then he's like, it's not a mask. And she's like, no, that's your face, isn't it? He's like, yeah, you're right. Which is not true, because it is, he thinks it is. He thinks that Mr. Knight or Moon Knight or whatever is his like true face when he's most in commune with Khonshu. It's not. He is going through so many levels of trauma and like shattering his own image that he is quite literally lying to himself right there. But it does make for a very nice sequence. And I already talked about how much I like how that Moon Knight costume looks. Mr. Knight is phenomenal.
Mr. Knight is definitely. I have a hard time choosing between Mr. Knight and Moon Knight because they're both so good.
Yeah.
For different reasons.
The only real proper criticism I have with this, and I do have it for the next thing I'm going to talk about as well, is that the purposes of the individual, because apparently the different alters are different aspects of Khonshu, which I don't remember all of them off the top of my head, but they are supposedly different parts, basically, of his personality. They don't really function like that, and that's something I find annoying. It's more of a personal qualm. They obviously feel different, but they don't differentiate too strongly between each other. Maybe that's a point, I guess. I just don't really like that because, yeah, like I said, Mr. Knight deals with the public, but he beats the shit out of everybody.
Yeah, so
he's not afraid to get blood on his suit, and also Moon Knight is one who runs around at night with the gadgets and whatnot. But he also beats the ever living shit out of people. Like there aren't too many distinctions, and I wish it was a little bit not necessarily more clear cut which persona he's in, but the purposes that they each serve. Because I mean, this is a really weird personal detail, but the way that when I talk to my therapist and the way that we talk about how different things in my brain work is the type of talk therapy that he uses. I don't remember the name of it. Basically, everyone exists and they kind of all have DID. Not really, but there are different parts of our brains that have different jobs that can take over from each other, and it's not always quote unquote the real you making all of your choices. It's a whole fucking thing. But having some experience in that area, I guess, of study, I've started looking into it because it's how my therapist talks to me. It makes this run kind of really muddy in that aspect, and I don't like that because it doesn't track all the time.
So, for everyone listening, I found the aspects. So, the 4 aspects of Khonshu is Pathfinder, Embracer, Defender, and the Watcher of Overnight Travelers. And there is a secret and most violent of the aspects. It's a secret aspect known
the one who
as
feeds on hearts.
The one who lives on hearts.
And see, that's the thing is, I can understand how you can classify each of his aspects and the altars together, but they overlap so much.
Yeah,
that does make it more confusing because it's okay.
Because the Embracer is also Mr. Knight.
Right, but also they're all the Defender of Midnight Travelers.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, but that's more of a... I don't think the characters ever... Because it was set up initially that it was kind of always muddy, it's harder to differentiate that now later in the character's life or whatever. Anyways, Colin, what the fuck else have you been up to?
So, I read The Batman, Before the Batman, a prequel novel.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to consume everything in this universe.
Are you going to consume Oz's shit, though?
Yes.
Okay.
So, I read this book that takes place before the Batman movie, 2022, The Batman.
The Batman.
So, this book's a little muddy. It's a little all over the place.
I mean, it is a prequel novel to a movie, which probably doesn't acknowledge most of it.
It does, actually.
Okay.
That's the reason why it's muddy, is because everything that's talked about is going to be talked about in the movie, except for maybe one thing, which could be a setup. So, basically, it opens up with the Bruce Wayne's perspective of the his house becoming the orphanage, and it doesn't actually talk about how he... A lot of people talk about this book and they're like, oh yeah, he hates living in the Wayne Tower, and that's not it at all. It's just more I miss my home. This is whatever. That's how he feels about Wayne Tower until he becomes a teenager, where he discovers the basement of Wayne Tower and stuff like that. We get to see more of Alfred.
There's probably more Alfred in this book than the entirety of the movie.
Yeah, Alfred's in the entire book.
Wow.
And we get to see Alfred and talk about how he's teaching him Bruce Jitsu, which is what Alfred calls his training with Bruce, because it's all of Alfred's knowledge of everything he's learned when he was in the military, and he kind of mixed it together, actually mixed it together and made his own thing.
Wow.
And teaches it to Bruce and calls it Bruce Jitsu, and I love that. Bruce winces at that a little bit. He's like, oh. In the book,
Dad, you're being cringy.
Dad, you're being cringe, and I loved that so much.
Do you read Alfred's dialogue in Andy Serkis's Alfred voice? Very nice.
Of course.
Very nice.
I read it in his voice, and that's what makes the book better.
I must admit, I read a lot of books in a lot of people's voices. I cannot read Daredevil and Kingpin without hearing their voices.
Hell no.
Kevin Conroy is
and
Batman
and
voice
literally everyone. Yeah,
everyone's.
Yeah.
But the Joker isn't actually Mark Hamill for me.
Oh, is it not?
It's not. It's no one else's voice. It's I've made it up in my head.
Yeah.
I can't even explain it.
It depends
That's
on which
weird.
Joker.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anyways,
What is the plot of this book?
So it's
There is no plot.
okay. The plot is basically Bruce Wayne becomes a race car driver. Whoa.
Race car driver.
He's a racist.
Bruce becomes a street racer because the Gotham track won't take him because he's too young and whatever. And also he's Bruce Wayne. They don't want his blood on their hands and blah 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 crap like that. And Bruce meets this girl named Dex, who's also a street racer, and she introduces him to all her street racer friends. They do street races like cool people.
Do they do the fuck though?
Oh, he's a virgin.
Yes!
dude.
She's a Dex build though.
Shut up, you maidenless bitch. Plus, you're tarnished. And then we get to see not flashbacks, but we get to see a little bit of Edward Nashton get like bullied and stuff like that, and then he has qualms with the street racers because they almost run him over and they don't care, so he blows up on Dex's car, and Bruce saves her, and he's like, "Wow, I actually really like saving people." And then we get basically a quick cut to him modifying the Batmobile more, and he makes his own suit of armor, a hood with ears. I think what they mean by hood is like his actual bat cowl. I don't know why they keep calling it a hood.
Sometimes a cowl can be referred to as a hood.
Which is weird.
Depends.
But anyway.
Depends on who you ask.
And we get to see some of that, and as he's Batman, he's investigating this, these crimes where it's someone's using this like explosive gel and whatever.
Oh.
And so
Then he starts using it to blow up goons.
no, he finds who's selling it because it's military grade, and so he tries to get information. So he's like, "Hey, Alfred, you still have people people in the police department, right?" And so then he's like, "Yeah, I know some people." And he's like, "Do you want to talk to like a higher up name? I can't remember his name. He was in the movie." He's like, "No, not that high up, like a detective or something." And then we get Detective
Gordon?
Lore.
Oh.
This Dure or whatever, Dure. And I'm like, why is it not Gordon?
Because that would be too many references.
It's so stupid because like she's barely used, and just for that, and then he basically it's just finds out that Dex is a part of this. Like she's selling.
She's a part of this too.
Shut up. She's selling this these explosive gel canisters to people through this other guy who's a part of Falcone's mob, but Falcone doesn't know what's happening. And she's doing it because her dad was set up and is in prison and blah blah blah. And
Wow,
so
a woman with daddy issues?
yeah, what a surprise. And basically that ends that. He figures it out and whatever. That's such a short part. The main part is literally just him as a teenager and before he even makes his bat suit and all of that. That's the biggest part of this book. And then we get to the Batman and shit like that. So we skip even more. And Detective Gordon's not talked about at all in this book. Like, not at all. Because after that, we get to see a little bit of Falcone almost killing a dude. Killing that dude that was running all of this.
Yeah.
And then, what's another important part? Basically, him starting his journals and stuff like that. And then we skip, and we just see dialogue, or like, basically the intro to the Batman movie.
Okay, so it sounds like this is very much so a prequel novel that no one thought about when they were actually making the movie, and then they said, here, you, probably normal author, just make a book.
Yeah.
It sounds very cobbled together.
It is cobbled
and
together.
will never be acknowledged by anything else.
No, I mean, I guess it answers some things. Or just...
He's the Riddler, baby.
It answers questions that didn't really need to be answered.
Do we get any odds?
Yeah, we get a little odds. He basically just says one thing, and Falcone's like, "Shut up, you bitch! You don't say anything unless I let you say something, bitch.
Wow.
You fucking penguin."
Penguin.
And that's basically what it is. Like, penguin.
That's really stupid.
And, at the end, he's like, we make a good team, Dex. Like, awkwardly, it literally says awkwardly, he says that.
Wow.
Awkwardly, he says, we make a good team, Dex. It's like, yeah, I think I'm just gonna go live in Metropolis.
That is Superman reference?
Oh, yeah.
This doesn't sound very good.
It really doesn't.
It's not. I enjoyed the beginning part until we got to him being Batman, because I didn't want to see Batman. I wanted to see him, like, actually before Batman. And, like, I was fine with everything else, because we actually got to talk about the car, which is what I wanted. And
So
I'm not going to read it again.
How much did you spend on it?
$9.
That's not bad.
No, it's not bad. That's why I got it. But it was, like, way smaller than I even thought it was going to be. It's like, oh,
Nice.
okay. I just wanted anything the Batman, you know?
Yep.
So,
Jacob, did
Alright.
you do any of the Batmaning?
I did not.
Oh.
You'll never ever guess what I did.
your mom.
No, not even. I wish.
Wow.
In relation to what I actually did, calm down. I ordered this thing back in September
Oh, boy.
of 2021, and I only got it March 2022.
It's like,
6 months.
how? Why?
Partly because it was a Kickstarter,
Oh.
Huh.
but also apparently there was some worldwide illness that made freaking basic materials like paper, you know, anything you find in Minecraft, like rare, like ultra rare. So that kind of pushed back the release date too. But yeah,
Oh.
That.
I read The Witcher Ronin.
Oh, shit.
Dig in.
Oh. It's a manga.
This isn't a manga.
It is The Witcher, but what if it was Japanese and manga and stuff?
That is hot. Tell us about it, sir.
Booty. Witcher booty. And boobies.
Oh my gosh.
Look at her boobs move like that. That's so funny. I love it. Ooh, boobies.
Oh my gosh.
Jacob,
Yes.
please tell me about this so we can stop hearing Colin squeal.
It's fine. It was a Kickstarter special, exclusive as of now. They might release it later in stores. I wouldn't be surprised if this gets popular. But it just didn't really do anything for me. The artwork is fine. I really like the colors. It's pretty basic in that there isn't a huge explosion of colors. It's very minimal.
It's washed out.
Yes.
Unlike being washed up, which is what Colin is. But...
Oof. I thought you were gonna say CD Projekt Red.
Oh, they are. So
A
does
lot of the
this?
stories repeat things that we've already seen.
So is it kind of like a cobbled together story wise, or is it like a remake of the first game or the first book, or like what?
There's 4 issues, I think, of Geralt tracking down Ciri.
Uh-huh.
And he gets close and finds the next big clue, and it says end volume 1. And then slaps you with a couple of rando issues, and then that's it. It's like 8 issues of manga. I was pretty upset when I saw that it was ending on a cliffhanger. Like, I thought I was getting a full book. It seems pretty cheap that they're stringing it along like that. It felt more style over substance. There's not a lot to write home about. There's nothing new here. He finds a couple of monsters and kills them. He has sexy naked time with a lady until she turns into a
Her
monster.
boobs get bigger.
When she becomes a monster. Yeah, it's very, very intentional.
Yeah.
I was gonna tell you that when you were done oogling.
Nice. I noticed, don't worry.
She turns into a hag and everything turns. It's nasty.
I mean, her boobs are really nice here, so...
Oh my
I mean,
god.
that's...
Even like, so any manga I read, which is not a whole lot, has actions like the biff bam boom words
But
in Japanese.
in manga.
Yes, written in anime. They have that here, but they also have English words doing the same thing next to it.
Ugh.
So it feels very much westernized manga, I guess.
Weird.
And for not being a manga guy, it just feels wrong. It
I
feels
hate
like
it.
something's getting watered down and bastardized. I like the look of it. I really like the idea of The Witcher as a Ronin. That makes sense. But this just doesn't. It's a style over substance.
I like it when manga has the Japanese sound effects, but it's just Japanese and not English. Because I don't want to know what the sound effects is. I want to make it myself. Be like,
How much did you pay for this?
Way too much.
about to
I'm
say.
a bit ashamed of how much I paid for it.
$100?
But it also 70. It came with a paperback version that's in all black and white. It came with postcards, medium-sized posters, and full-size posters of the different. There's like 5 or 6 pictures in the back. So I got these in poster form.
I mean, the book in and of
three
itself is
different
very nice.
It's very well made. I love that they included a bookmark lanyard tag thing in it. That was very helpful. I split this up over 2 or 3 nights of reading, even though it legit could have been a half hour, 45 minutes. Again, style over substance. Like, everything about it looks beautiful. But, meh.
But that's it. So sad.
I really hope Colin will borrow this and read it and tell me his thoughts. Just so that I get more bang for my buck. Like, somebody please borrow this and read it.
I'm doing it right now.
That's nice. Not the best. Kind of suck. At least it's officially licensed. At least it's officially licensed.
Yeah, just another story of CD Projekt Red squeezing out more money.
Oof.
That sucks.
Oof, duh. So,
Oops, sorry. You are a baby man.
So are you.
Yeah.
So I read Moon Knight.
Whoa!
Again.
Whoa! Really?
I'm just going to say the exact same conversation over again. I read the complete collection, the Moon Knight by Jeff Lemire complete collection. So it is the 2016 run. It ran in 2016 and 2017. It is 14 issues. It is written by Jeff Lemire with primary pencils by Greg Smallwood, as well as some guest pencils by James Stoke, Francesco Francavilla, and Wilfred Torres for different sections under the different alters. So this is one, very violent, much ooh-woo, much oh-whoa. So big fan there. So this, unlike the previous run, which took a very kind of religious aspect to it, this takes a much more mental health focus aspect of it, which is very obvious. It's nothing subtle, and that's awesome. He wakes up inside of a mental institution. A menstrual institution. Mark wakes up inside a mental institution. An old school mental hospital, one might say.
Arkham Asylum?
Kinda. Yes. And he's like, yo, I don't remember anything, and this is sussy. I don't like that. So we see him escaping and then going back, basically.
I remember this run. This is good.
Over 14 issues, there isn't a lot of like physical progression. It's weird. Because this maybe takes all place in his head, but it doesn't feel like that's a cop-out either. He is in an institute being captured, quote-unquote captured, by various different Egyptian gods and their minions. Sometimes he can see what's going on, sometimes he can't. So, don't take your meds, kids. Lots of that sort of stuff. It's still very interpretive, even though it takes not a more literal approach, but a more, it's not more, quote-unquote, more literal, because this whole thing basically takes place inside of his brain, but it's more literal in the terms of it kind of nails down a lot more stuff instead of leaving everything loosey-goosey. But there's still a lot up for interpretation, like how much is in his head, what things land where. It's weird. I can't really get into too much without spoilers. It's in a direct dialectic with the previous run, and I really, really like that. Whereas the previous run is about how he's stuck in a forced relationship with a god he doesn't really want to be, who he doesn't understand. This run is about the fact that he's basically trapped inside his own brain, and he needs to stop running away from his mental problems, and he needs to understand, like, he's always going to be like this, so he needs to embrace who he is to be able to function as a normal person. He can't get rid of his alters. They will never go away, but he needs to learn how to use them in healthier manners to synthesize them a little bit, which is really, really cool stuff. So we get, like, the whole 9 yards. We get Mark Spector, Stephen Grant, we get Lockley, and we also get Mr. Knight, Moon Knight, and we get a new persona, or a new alter, Moon Knight 1, who is an astronaut. Kinda. It's fucking weird, and I love it. Basically, like I said, he has to escape this place. He loses some friends along the way who are characters from other runs, particularly from his time as a taxi driver. So some of his old friends who he loses, one of them sacrifices himself to help them escape. We get other Egyptian gods in this. It's a whole fucking thing. There's so much in here that I can't spoil. But basically, he then figures out this is all a plot by Khonshu. I will spoil this thing for Colin. I'm sorry.
Fuck, don't do it.
No, it's fine. You're fine. This is all an elaborate ruse, kind of, by Khonshu to manipulate Mark Spector, like the person, to basically not exist so he can take over his body. It really, really fits in well with all of the other stuff that I've read and what I've been able to tell off, wikis and whatnot. So it does some retconning. It goes into a little bit about his childhood as a rabbi's son. He always had DID since he was a kid. Stephen Grant was the first, the first alter he had. He was originally his imaginary friend. It's a whole bunch of stuff. It's really cool. He was institutionalized before he went into the Marines. He got discharged from the Marines, became a mercenary, blah, blah, blah. So we retread some old ground with new context. And then he decides he has to go kill Khonshu. And it's really fucking cool. So he escapes the hospital, but he has to go back in, using all of his alters and becoming a whole person. Because Khonshu may or may not have been, manipulating him since he was a child. Maybe. Or maybe Khonshu is just a manifestation of all of his trauma, or whatever. You can interpret it so many different ways, and it's really cool. The art in this run, holy fucking shit. Smallwood, in a sense, carried over some of his art from his previous time on Moon Knight. There's some of it which is very direct, like the costumes and whatever, but the overall, the panel layouts, the page layouts, the action and the types of pencils he's using are entirely different. This is probably the best looking Moon Knight anything. I know I said previously that out of all the people in the previous run, Smallwood was probably my least favorite. Smallwood is the definitive Moon Knight artist after this run. It's fucking insane. There's just so much here. It makes the lines between the alters a little bit clearer, which I did appreciate. It's still a little bit too money for my liking, but that's just a personal preference thing. This was $30 or $35. This is a must-buy for anyone who likes Moon Knight, fucking mental health stories, grounded super, whatever. Everyone should buy this fucking thing. I got it at Jetpack.
Colin just got it for $26.
Congrats. He's better than the rest of us. This is definitely the favorite of the 3 Moon Knight runs I've read. This is phenomenal. Also, it's chonky, but I went through it in a few hours. So much enjoyment.
So I'm drawing at the moment a really, really shitty sketch of an idea that I have for our next banner art.
Oh boy.
Because it's going to change art style.
Oh shit.
Because we're getting older. And
we are all so old.
We're getting older, and I think it would be a good idea to change art style and to have it a little bit more funny. So we're going to have your bald head, and it's going to be shining.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. My idea is that you're going to have a shining head.
Oh boy.
Yep.
That was something I really liked about this Headlopper issue, or trade, was that every time a blade struck somebody, or an arrow, there was a little glimmer of white light wherever it hit.
Yeah.
Even though the blood trail or the limb broke somewhere else or whatever, it showed you exactly with the glimmer where the blade was hitting. That was a really nice small feature that I enjoyed.
The Shining.
Yes. Speaking of shining, shiny happy people maybe, we have patrons.
We do have
People
patrons
that
we need to
pay
thank.
us.
They give us shiny coins.
I beat it to it.
They do toss a coin to their Witcher.
Yeah.
Colin, you're not a Witcher, sorry. Big thank you to our patrons, Dave and Jeff Lawrence. If you want to support the show, you can go check out our Patreon at patreon.com/dimecomicbros. We have a whole bunch of different tiers with different benefits. You can get our stickers whenever we make new ones. Colin has mentioned we're going to be making bookmarks at some point in the near future, so you'll be able to get those. Get your name shouted out. Whenever you sign up, depending on what like the nearest main topic episode, Colin will do a sketch of whatever it was for you to take home and show your parents and put on the fridge and whatnot. Lots of other stuff. Just real cool all around. And on Patreon, you get other cool things like getting to listen to our episodes early, as soon as they're done being edited, as well as some exclusive clips and segments. If we go on some really weird tangents where I talk about how much I like Adele, or that was really fun. Or we talked about the Batman merchandise a couple of weeks ago. Just random stuff like that. We usually clip out and put on the Patreon, so you can listen to that there, as well as our exclusive segment / podcast, Dime Comic Bros Happy Hour, where we have a drink or coffee or some food, and we just kind of shoot the shit about random stuff.
Just decompress from the life of podcasting.
Yeah,
'cause it's
so
stressful
stressful.
work. We spend all week on this show,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And we just need to let it all out and share our real thoughts sometimes.
Yeah, or sometimes it's just going to turn into a business meeting like it is this week, because we need to plan out our next few topics. Lots of fun stuff. You can get all of that at patreon.com/dimecomicbros. Also, a big thank you to our partners over at Jetpack Comics and Games. Shoes! Do you like Spider-Man to have the textured bottoms?
No.
Textured.
The sneaker bottoms on
No,
his shoes.
it doesn't make sense. He's sticky already. He doesn't need grippy on the bottom of his shoes.
He doesn't need grippy, but he does need durable.
But if they're flat, it doesn't matter.
Having a single layer of
Are
thin
we talking about comic books or movies?
Good question. If you were just running around in socks, it doesn't matter if your feet are sticky. Those socks are gonna wear out real fast.
So comic books, no, just make it black or either black or red because comic books, it's fun. It's comic books.
Yeah,
Movies, makes sense because durability. You have to think about that if it's a real life movie.
fair. Our big thank you to our partners over at Jetpack Comics and Games in downtown Rochester, New Hampshire. They have comics, they have games, they have cool people, they have D&D, trading cards. So you got your Pokemans, your Magic. They might even have Bakugan cards for all I know.
Pokemon is not there.
Yeah, you should.
You
say
would
Pokemon.
know. You would know.
I would not.
Jacob would know.
I am at the store all the time. I have never checked out Twitch.
I was about to say you've never checked out Pokemon, and then I would say obviously you have, but it's not what you said, and now this is not funny. Thank you for ruining my joke. You are funny.
Funny looking.
I'll show you my funny looking
Penis?
yes.
Ew.
Your voice got yes.
They also have a big old wall filled with old back issues, lots of cool, first appearances and whatnot. They got new comics, collected editions, omnibuses, props, collectibles,
Sir,
all the stuff.
it's Omnibuy.
Omni-bisexual. Ha! Half gay. Ow, that really fucking hurt.
I bet I can do it harder.
Yeah, you probably can. Fuck, I had something else I was gonna say. Oh,
Next week.
Nope. Hold on. I can now say, which, fuck.
Can you?
Shut up.
He definitely cannot.
Shut the fuck up. I can now announce that we will be at Free Comic Book Day in Rochester, New Hampshire this year. The reason I'm saying it now is because it has to do with Jetpack Comics and Games in downtown Rochester, New Hampshire. So we are going to have a table over there. We'll be at the Governor's Inn. That is in May. The 7th, I believe, is the first Saturday. So it's a little while out. I'm probably just going to say it at the end of every episode to make sure that you
come
idiots
see
know.
us.
Yeah, if you don't, we will be very upset. You will have to come visit us and check out our stickers and our business cards and our bookmarks.
And us. Talk to us.
No, Jacob,
I want
they
to
will-
talk to people. F this worldwide sickness thing. I want to
You
talk
can
to
talk
people.
to Jacob all you want. Spencer and I will not be talking.
Yeah.
No, we're probably going to be too busy, like, simping over whatever artist is nearby. But you can come check out Jacob, too. Jacob would love to be checked out.
He needs to be checked out.
That is
Like
true.
a library book, he needs to be checked out.
Just needs a good old rubber stamp on the forehead.
Yeah. He needs a really good rug and tug, you know?
Oh my gosh.
I need a good stamping.
Oh. Next week, we'll be talking about the news, you know, as it happens. But also, we will be discussing the first episode of Moon Knight, the Disney Plus show, as that is going to start premiering next week. So that is going to be hecking fun. Thank you for listening. Go check out our website at dimecomicbros.com. Send us an email at dimecomicbros@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram for memes, behind the scenes, updates, blah, 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 blah. It's social media. You know what the fuck we use
All
it
the
for.
credits get longer every week, I swear.
No, it's mostly because I just keep forgetting everything.
That is the end.
You are the end.
And the beginning?
The end is nigh.
Apocalypse?
PP in my
Gosh,
pants.
I really hope the bigger reason why I really want the MCU not to transplant anything from the Fox universe aside from Deadpool is because I want them to be able to do all these villains a lot better. Because I really want Apocalypse to actually be done well.
I never remember the freaking DC Apocalypse.
DC's Apocalypse. What the fuck are you talking about?
No, what is his name? It's not Apocalypse, it's
Darkseid.
Thank you.
Yes, Darkseid. Darkseid is.
My penis. Oh!
That was not a good day.
What's wrong with that? I didn't say anything wrong about lesbians. I'm also a lesbian.
Colin, you're not a lesbian.
I like women, do I not?
Sport ball.
Sport ball.
Sport ball, drink beer,
Hoorah.
bitch politics. My nose is itching. Darkseid.
Darkseid is.
Wow.
Wow.